Hey, happy afternoon. Happy Sunday afternoon. How's everyone doing today? It is hot here on the in the Northeast. Hey, Alice. It is, yeah, it's hot here, but I'm good though. How's everyone else doing? I am so excited as usual because today is motivating the motivator. We get to have some really good conversations, some laughs. Whether my guest does it or not, I get to have a glass of, hey, girl. Hi, honey.
Hi.
I was just, oh, you still have your birthday balloons behind you. I love that. Uh,
Yes.
uh, so I was just saying to everyone, I was like, I love it. It's Sunday. That means it's time for motivating the motivator. Of course, it's hot here. So I have my air conditioning on. How about you? It's hot, right?
Yeah, it's hot. I just got finished with both online church and then we did like this Bible study. I actually turned mine off because it's so loud. Um,
Oh,
but I may have to turn it back on.
yeah, I'm about to do a little something here
I
too.
know because it's just it's hot. And also if you will allow me, I saw that you've got your mimosa there. I'm if you will allow me, I'm going to pour myself a little half a glass.
Pour half
Because
a
I
glass.
haven't been yes, I haven't been fully hydrated as well today. So give me
I
one
got
one
one,
moment.
two. Yes. So while she is going to get her half a glass, I'm going to introduce my love here. So, first of all, second of all, first of all, hey, welcome again to Motivating the Motivator. I don't have an empty screen. She ran to go get her prosecco or her mimosa so that we can sip and chat together. I've got Leslie Faison um, on today. I My goodness, there's so much to say about her, but the good thing is she can speak and do it on her own. But yeah, there she goes. But Leslie, if you all saw the thing I put up, I have philanthropist, I have yes HBCU grad because when someone comes on who I need to speak on that. I, excuse me, she is in corporate America. I do want us to talk about just survival in corporate America as a Black woman, as a woman, as a person trying to survive, especially now, because everything, life has shifted, obviously, for almost all of us. I also want to talk about her podcast, and leading into talking about her podcast, we're going to talk about being 50 plus. Yeah,
Yeah, I just
plus.
turned 53. So yeah.
Oh my, I feel like we were just saying happy 50th.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago.
No, see, time goes too fast. I feel like we were just saying happy 50th. So, yeah, we're going to talk about being 50 because I don't know what y'all heard, but 50 is fucking fabulous. It's phenomenal. It is coming into what you already knew you were and heightening what you already were. So but we'll talk about all of that because I'm gonna give her the drink roll. And you know what? And she's my friend. So
Yes.
there's a whole lot of titles that she has, but I like the friend one too.
Yeah, me
So
too.
everybody say hello to Leslie. Leslie, say hi to the
Hello.
people.
Hey everyone. Thank you so much, Latifa, for having me on your platform. I've been catching a few of them here and there when I can. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, honey, I'm so glad you're here. Actually, Victoria, who was on like last time, just waved and said hi.
Hello.
I like to start off with how we met, but I think how we met is actually, I know you're like, what? But I think ours is a little interesting because you met my parents first.
Yeah, I did. I
Yeah,
met your parents at my dear friend Dana's wedding like 12, 13 years ago.
amazing. See,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think we were on the same flight going down. when I said, oh, they're such a cute couple and everything, you know. I was on my way to this wedding and everything. And then when
Yeah.
I get there and we get like to the hotel and stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, they're part of the wedding. And my friend Dana was like, yeah, that's Joe. He gave me my first job. And I was like, oh, wow. Because my friend is an attorney. And I was like, oh, wow. So yes, I met your parents at my friend's wedding many, many, many years ago.
Yeah, and then how it gets even smaller. You and my mom graduated from the same college. My
Yes, we
mom
did.
Hampton Institute, you
Yes,
Hampton University. So obviously
correct.
not at the same time. My mom's a little older than
Yes, correct.
um, so there's that, then there's that, and then you walk into my yoga class.
Yes.
And I don't even know how we got on this conversation where you were like, wait a minute, I know your parents. I don't even know how that came up. Everything is always just so organic.
I don't know how it came up either.
Mhm.
I have no clue as to how it came up. And I can't even recall how I found your yoga class.
I think it was Sanjay. Was it her? I
No.
want to say,
Uh,
no?
I no.
Oh my gosh.
No, she may have had something to do with it, but I think I remember. Were you gonna use a studio or something down on Main Street at one point, and you had a flyer or something up?
Yes, yes, I did.
I think I
I
was
did.
walking one day and I saw that.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
There's like, but only because we've got 8 million ways that we would know
Right.
each other.
Right.
And then of course our love for house music. And
Mm-hmm,
when
mm-hmm.
you were in my yoga class and you could just hearing identify Thievery Corporation, I was like, yeah, that's my boo right there. That's my boo right there.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like,
right.
yo, she knows music. I love
Yeah,
music and you got it too.
yeah.
So let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about HBCUs. Let's
Okay,
talk about that. You went to Hampton
I did.
University.
I did.
So let's just talk, not just, okay, yeah, we know you went there, but I want to talk about, for you especially, and because what you're going to say is what a lot of folks are going to say, talk
Mm-hmm.
about the importance of their existence, the importance of just having that as a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's just chit chat about that for a second.
Um, well, just for some background, both of my parents went to HBCUs, so that's all I knew growing up.
Hmm.
Um, we grew up going, I mean, to go when we would grow up at, you know, when it was homecoming time, to go to homecoming was also a visit to the grandparents because
Right.
both of my parents went to an HBCU where they lived. So my father was originally from Clinton but moved to Winston-Salem when he was a teenager. So he went to Winston-Salem State. And then my mother, who was from Virginia, went to a small college called St. Paul's College, and that's where her and her sisters and her cousins went. So we grew up from little kids, my sister and I, going down to homecoming with them. So that's what kind of I knew. And fast forward, high school, it's time for me to, you know, start looking at colleges and things of that nature. And I, you know, had in my mind I was going to go to somewhere like Penn State or something like that. And my father was like, I'm not paying for that. He goes, I'm not paying for you to go to a predominantly white institution. I want you to go to an HBCU. And I was like, these people are paying for it. I'm not going to argue. And then his caveat was, and I really kind of don't want you going to Howard. That's a party school. And I was like, okay.
Shout out to Howard, my baby sister. That's her alma mater.
There you go. There you go. There you
Yeah,
go. You know.
we got a lot of HBCUs in my family, so she and two cousins, and yeah.
Yeah. So there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
But no, it's all about Hampton.
right. It's all that. So my mom was the one who said, why don't you look at Hampton and this, that, and the other. The importance of HBCUs. I mean, first of all, these were the only institutions that were open to my parents to attend for higher education.
Right.
This is, you know, pre-desegregation. My mother and father got out, like my mother, I think was class of 54 or something like that. Or 55, something like that. And so it was
Mm-hmm.
Brown v. Board of Ed. So they had literally only been in segregated classrooms their entire lives.
Right.
But the reason why they're so important is because when you go to an HBCU, the goal is for you to graduate. The goal is for you to graduate and go on and go work in the community and also give back to the school. There is a vested interest in you succeeding that I don't necessarily personally feel exists at predominantly white institutions. So people like to make this comparison. Well, isn't it a better education at a predominantly white institution? I beg to differ.
I beg to differ.
I beg to differ.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get what you put into wherever you go.
Exactly.
I mean, we there are many examples of people who have Ivy League, or Big Ten, big what have you, diplomas behind them, and they're not necessarily doing or any more gainfully employed than someone who went to a historically Black, college, university, or college. So the importance, I feel, also is that this is 4 years of your life where you do not have to worry about how you are being perceived, how you're being judged. Your judgment on you has nothing to do with your race, has nothing to do with your socioeconomic background. It's simply on the work that you've done, or doing, or what have you. You are surrounded by your own to a certain degree, and there's an underlying conversation that never has to be had. I'm not saying that you're going to go to school and there's not going to be conflicts and this, that, and the other. I'm not saying that at all.
That's
but
life.
There's an underlying base conversation that doesn't have to happen, because you all know why you're there. You all know why you chose to come there. Also, I mean, out of the history of these schools, a lot of them were created, if you will, because you had this class of children who were the offspring of many a slave owner, if you will. Mm-hmm. You had those who felt like, well, we need to do something with these kids, and you can't just get them off the field and put them into I mean, there was a reasoning behind them. So a lot of them were like, started off as like normal and technical, so your A&Ts, your agricultural and technical, they were started to learn how to do this, and and that's why a lot of them were created. But of course they've been, and then there's the land grant schools where schools states set aside a certain amount of land, this, that, and the other, so that African American students could go to college, because they certainly were not going to let them go to school with their white kids.
Right. So
for those who had the opportunity, that's why a lot of these were created. So I mean, where they come, just the history of it. Mm-hmm. And education is so valued in our community. Very much so. Because we were so denied. Yeah. We were so denied a decent education.
We were killed when we were trying to read. I mean.
Right. We were so denied. You were denied, all these things. So that's why, education has such a high value and whatnot in our community. So that to me is why, and again, I also go back to, for the time when I was there. So I was there from 1985, and came out in 1989. Uh-huh. So, I mean, it's 31 years now, because last year was my 30th.
Last year was your big blowout.
Yeah, the big
Y'all
blowout.
had a good,
We
yep.
did. We had an
Y'all had a
amazing time.
really good
Your mom
reunion.
happened to be down there at the same time.
Yes, my mom was.
Yes, she happened
But
to be there.
nobody's reunion was like y'all's, though.
No. Yeah, we kind of broke the mold there. But I go back to, what was going on during that time. Apartheid. Mandela was still in jail.
Right.
We had like a shanty town on campus like my freshman year. I'll never forget, also my sophomore year, the movie School Days came out, and Spike
Yes, I
Lee.
know, because I went to Clark.
Yes, and Spike. I always said Spike specifically released that movie when he did, because he knew that's when everybody was coming offline. It was the end of the spring lines at different institutions and whatnot. So
it spoke so much too, man.
Oh yeah. That was like, a lot of controversy and whatnot. But it was great. But again, I was at Hampton, and during my time there, and I hear this from other people who went to other institutions, because they're all great. We all have our jokes. I love that meme that, people joning on each other, oh, you went here, I see my friend Sharon joined. She went to Virginia State. She's proud, Virginia State person. And we can, josh back and forth with each other. How Hampton and Howard go back and forth with each other.
Always. The real HU.
But nobody else can say anything.
Right.
Like we all pick up and take up for each other.
Right.
So, and that again, there's also the community of those of us who went to HBCUs. Now you've got the community of, those who went to your specific school, and then you've got just the broader community.
Yeah.
And there's something about that. There's something about when you meet somebody, especially like in a corporate environment, who also went to an HBCU, they're just like they're like, oh,
automatically.
Like there's this thing. There's this, automatically there's this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredible network.
Yes, it is. It
is. And it's something that you just can't duplicate that. You can't.
It's an experience you can't. And there's a lot of people who've gone to predominantly white institutions who've had very active and large Black networks at the schools, Black student unions and whatnot, but it's still not the same.
It's still not the same. It's not the same. It's funny because my dad was at NYU, and he was part of like this whole, there was the Black student union when he went to law school there, the Black law students, blah, blah, blah. I started at Clark, so I had I always say my grounding and my foundation, because that was my first 2 years, and then I finished up at City College. But I tell you, I still have all that stuff from Clark. Like, you just can't get rid of it. It's instilled, and I'm so thankful, so thankful, because one thing that hasn't changed is pride. No matter when you went, because all of my grandparents as well, my grandparents went to HBCU. So my mom's parents were Hampton, my dad's parents, Virginia Union.
VUU.
So, it never leaves you. Yeah. And the way my grandmother still to this day will talk about Hampton is the same as you. And God knows y'all are way apart in how when y'all went. But there's still, so I've heard people say, well, when did you go? Hasn't it changed? It's like there's some things that never ever change. Life and the world just changes. So there are those changes, but the pride and all those things, they just never change. It doesn't matter when you went. Ever.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And again, it's just, and I mean, every school has its controversy. Every school has its, this, that, and the other.
Wherever there's a human being, that's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's one thing for sure I feel personally, and they're not for everybody. I'm not going to suggest that every Black student needs to go to, or should, or, what have you, should go to an HBCU. That's definitely not.
May I interject though? One thing I always say is, actually not interject, just moving from that. You're right, 100%. It is not for every single Black student.
Right.
What I fight for is making sure people understand it is a viable option.
Yes,
Stop acting like it is not. If you put all these different things in, so you get all these various schools, put them all together. Don't act like it's this, it's other.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Last year I was at a cookout, and a friend's mother
Nice.
was there, and
Oh,
she's
nice.
she's West Indian from Jamaica, and she made a comment to me like, "But aren't black schools like inferior? Like, aren't they like not?" And I was just like, "No, that's not the
No,
case at all." You
no,
know, they think they're
no.
less than, and I mean
Right.
that's also a problem that comes out of us, that has been instilled in us. You know, like my grandfather had a store, and the problem with the store is that the white man's ice was colder. You understand what I'm saying?
I
So
do.
the white man's school is better. Anything that the white man did, their education, their school, their this, their that, is better. And that's something that has been put upon us. So
Yeah.
that's why you
And we've
get
been definitely
people who feel
internalized it.
that historically black colleges and universities are somewhat inferior or whatever. Well, if that was the case, Delaware State, which just announced the other day that they are acquiring
Yes.
a white school.
Yes. And how many doctors, attorneys, professionals come out of
That's who they all came out of, like Thurgood Marshall, who I share a birthday with, July 2nd.
oh, hey.
Yeah. I mean, are you know, all those architects of the civil rights struggle, all of those people came out of
Yes, they did.
HBCUs.
Yep, they did. They did.
That's where if you were a doctor, you went to Meharry or you went to Howard.
Howard.
Or if you're a
Yes.
lawyer, you know, that you went to Howard. Like,
Yes. Yep.
so
You know what? we could talk about this all day because I am
yes,
such a fighter when it comes to just HBCUs and having people understand the importance of making them viable options.
yes.
But let's talk about, well, let's touch on corporate America a little bit because that's what you're doing. So actually tell everybody what you do and then we'll get into
Okay.
that.
I work at the world's largest asset manager, which is a company called BlackRock. And I work in the area known as tech and ops in contracting. So I am part of the pensions team, and I work on negotiating. And let me preface by saying I am not a lawyer. I do not have a law degree. You don't necessarily have to have one to do what I'm doing.
Right.
Helps, but you don't have to. And I work on negotiating pension asset management agreements for pensions, and that could be pensions in the middle market space or what's known as pensions east and west, your larger corporations and their defined benefit area. So in other words, all that money that that is put into your pension, into your this, that, or the other, companies have, of course, need to invest that money. So they come to a company such as mine, say, we have this pot of money and we need to do something with it. So they either have their own idea of what they want to do with it, or we can come up with what they want to do with it. And there's different strategies, this, that, and the other. And what I do is I help negotiate that overarching agreement that puts one and one together to make two. So it puts us together with them. There's a lot of, I'm leaving out tons of stuff, but
Yeah. But it's a good foundation to let us know what you do.
Exactly.
So how would you describe, because corporate America is its own animal. You know, I'm an entrepreneur. I haven't been in corporate America since first of all, when I start with 19, that lets you know it's been a long time. So I haven't been in corporate America since 1999. Let's just throw that out there. So I already know the culture. I already know what I had to deal with back then. There's obviously the culture is a lot, it's the same, but a lot probably has changed. And just really quickly, just touch on what you feel especially coming, and we all know it's coming from your point of view, but corporate America now, navigating through corporate America and surviving and thriving, because I'm tired of us surviving. So I'm going to use that word, thriving. So navigating and thriving in corporate America.
Still difficult.
What advice?
still difficult, not impossible, still difficult. Having your network is important. Having your own board of directors, as they say, is incredibly important. And things are very dynamic at this point right now in corporate America because things are changing fast.
Yeah.
Like the situation that happened to George Floyd and the outpouring of outrage has spilled over directly into corporate America. So I'm seeing changes in the last 6 weeks, if you will, that I hadn't seen in over 20 something years of working in corporate America.
Well, what would you say those are? I only know what I see when they go on social media. So I want to know from the inside, what would you say are some of the things that are?
From the inside, companies are taking hard, cold look at their numbers, at their, because it's, and not to say that they haven't been looking at their numbers in the past, but they're clear that their numbers aren't good. And writing a check to Black Lives Matter or the Innocence Project or what have you, or the bail bond funds or what have you, it's not enough. It's not going to do it. That's not what we're seeking. They're making changes in how they're recruiting for their analyst classes. Hugely important.
That is very
making
important.
Changes in how my company made it very clear as to how many, and these are numbers that were put in place prior to what happened to George Floyd. Let me just say that, as to how many of the summer interns are of color, how they are changing the institutions that they are using to recruit from. And I can only speak for the company I work at now.
Right.
How the CEO has said in the past, he said this a year ago when I first started at this company, that more diversity was something that he did not pay attention to, and he regrets that. And they are making an effort. It's not perfect yet, but I've seen a lot of changes that have happened.
So that sounds encouraging.
It is encouraging.
Sounds encouraging.
They're also allowing, in my company, they allowed the Black network, if you will, to have their time to get online and speak and just say how they felt right after the
with no consequence.
With no consequence. Right. And then
because that's a big deal.
And certain things were put forward to the executive committee, and when a global call was held, they actually spoke on all of those things that were put forward. That's huge. That's gigantic,
actually.
That they're even speaking on it, and they've committed. So since then, as I said, I've seen changes in the last 6 weeks that I haven't seen in my 30-something years of work, 31 years of working post, leaving college, in all kinds of different, avenues, venues. I had a career in government. I worked at Southern District of New York in federal court. I worked there for 7 years before I went to corporate, and that was the whole how I fell into that. Another story for another day. But the amount of change that I've seen in the last 6 weeks has been pretty significant.
I love it.
And pretty impressive. I'm not saying it's perfect, but
it has to start somewhere.
It does.
It's the fun. It's going to seem small, but it's big, because I have been affected by this. Are they going to? One of the things I would hope with corporate America is they continue to look at a resume, even though the name on top says Latifah. Because and I'm not tooting my horn, but I'm going to toot it. I have a fucking amazing resume. But if you're not going to look at me because you see Latifah, that's a problem. That's a problem.
And then if my name is quote unquote unpronounceable to you, which last week LinkedIn rolled out a service where you can record how your name is to be
Oh,
properly
really?
pronounced, and people can click on it on your LinkedIn
I like
profile
that.
and hear exactly how your name is to be pronounced. My last name is
Yes.
Faison. How people have screwed up my last name for years and years and years is beyond me, but nonetheless.
Hey, yeah. Honey, I have had it where they're like, people go, can I call you something else? I'm like,
Yeah,
Latifah.
no,
Latifah.
no. And
How about Miss Fleming? Would you like to call me Miss Fleming?
right.
One or the
So
other.
one of the calls that we had and discussions that we had was around Black women's hair and how Black women feel way more empowered now to wear their hair any way they want.
However we want, because we do 8 billion things with our hair. 8 billion things with our hair. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's I mean, there was a time when, there was a very strict code about how you should look in corporate America.
Very,
I know. We were the
very,
original 90s girls.
very strict. I started my locks when I was at, I won't say the company, but when I was still in HBS. Fuck it, I said
Yeah.
it. When I was still there. So I had, the good thing is, yes, it was corporate, but it was like the creative part.
You were more on the creative side.
So
yeah.
when I started my locks, it was still like, okay. Oh.
And then it becomes more of an issue if you're client facing as opposed to if you're back office or this, that, or the
Exactly.
other. Yeah.
Exactly. When in actuality, it's like, how do I look though? Is it neat? Like this may be off-putting to some people, but I run my own business now. So my thing is, if you don't want to do business with me, you don't want to do business with me. What am I gonna say?
Exactly.
If you don't want to do business with me, because
I think is beginning. I can't say this for every company, but I mean, if you were to look through the directory at my job and look at the different women of color who are working there, especially Black women, you will see a variety of hairstyles, which is lovely. I mean, wear your hair that I wear my hair has no bearing on how I perform my duties, which is what you're paying me for.
Thank you. Has no bearing. Say it again. Just say it again, because somebody in the back didn't hear you.
How I wear my hair has no bearing on how I perform the job that you have hired me and are paying me for.
Right.
So, I mean, it's...
Yep.
So there are... Corporate America still has a long way to go. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And, I want to thank you for kind of having me on here to speak on that, because a lot of the women that you do have on, they're entrepreneurs, they're running their own companies and this, that, and the other. And there's some of us that, like, I'm not really trying to be an entrepreneur, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Yeah,
it's not.
To keep it 100.
No, but that's why I have all these different types of women. It's not for everybody. I want everybody to speak to their experience, because every single person on here is going to touch someone. Somebody's going to, that's why I don't know one type of woman. I just don't. I know, and I'm inspired by, motivated by all these women. Some of you are like CEOs of somebody else's company or your own company, or moms, stay-at-home moms, and that's a gigantic job that I don't even want to get to, because I did it for a whole 6 months and thought, wow.
Yeah.
So there's so many different roles that we have. So I needed to make sure. Actually, next week is my friend Keisha. She's corporate as well. Damn, y'all are damn good at what you do. And there are people who want to be, who want to move the pathways that you have moved and want to be where you are. And it's good to see. It's good to have that as an example. Yeah. People need to see you all there. People need to know you're there. On this, they can DM you. I mean, my goodness, there's so many avenues.
There are, and there's a lot of, like, I had 0 mentors and whatnot coming through. I mean, I made so many mistakes along the way and survived them some way, shape, or form. I've survived
the grace of God.
Yeah, survived them and whatnot. But seriously, I mean, it's we need to be there. We need to be, the broader we, people of color, need to be in all aspects of society
All of
in
them.
order for it to continue, in order for it to work. I'm not even going to say continue. In order for it to
That was so powerful. I have to
work for
pour. Keep
us.
talking.
Yeah, we need to be in all phases.
Yes, we
So
do. We definitely
it's
do.
not like everybody needs to be this or everybody needs to be that
No,
or everybody needs to go here. Everybody, no, we need to be in
everywhere.
every room and in every table, um, whether we're building that table ourselves, whether we're bringing our own chair, what have you. We need to be in every aspect, in every career, in every industry, what have you. That's where we need to be.
I love it. Well, speaking of where we need to be, I want to talk about Sophia.
Yes.
So SOFIA. It's an
Yes.
acronym. So speaking of we should be everywhere, you are on their board.
Yes.
So
Sophia
let's talk
is,
about what that stands for, what it means, and what it is, and how people can contribute.
sure. So Sophia is an acronym for Start Out Fresh Intervention Advocates, which is a nonprofit that helps to service survivors of domestic violence. It was started by my friend Cynthia Walker, who's from Montclair, New Jersey, and is basically based out of Montclair, New Jersey. Cynthia had this organization up and running for a couple of years, and a mutual friend of ours, we were having a conversation. I was like, yeah, it's time for me to start really getting a little more involved in the community and stuff. I felt like I could be and should be doing more in the community. So she's like, Cynthia started this this nonprofit, and when I had said, I had no idea. So I reached out to her, and she told me about it, and she says, why don't you come to one of our events? So I went to a fundraising event, and I was like, yeah, if you're looking for board members or anything, I'm happy to be there. I'm happy to join up. I'm happy to be a part of this. And I had no prior experience with domestic violence or anything like that. I didn't. So I didn't have any real, what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't have a, outside of my own biases, if you will. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any real formal education around domestic violence and whatnot. So, and I can say that anything I've done for the organization is nothing compared to what it has done for me in changing my mindset and in changing my understanding of what domestic violence is.
Right.
So when people say, why doesn't she just leave? Just get, whew.
It's not that simple. It's not that simple.
It's not that simple. And
no.
and working with this organization has, again, increased my empathy level to the nth degree behind, not only this topic alone, but a lot of other topics. So I always say I've gotten more out of Start Out Fresh Intervention Advocates or supportsophia.org. Supportsophia.org is our website. Please go on and look at our website. Unfortunately, we are not able to have our marquee event this year, which is our annual walk against domestic violence. We will be doing it virtually, and we are beginning to kick that off. So again,
good.
Yeah, www.supportsophia.org.
And I will make sure it's when I put this on, when I post this, I will put the website.
Thank you. And you can find out what we do in the community. We've done everything from support women who are leaving shelters to finally get their own place, to assist with household needs, little things like they need cookware, they need silverware, they need sheets, they need towels, they need washcloths. We help assist with that. They need clothing. We've provided in the past skills
Yeah.
for trying to find a job, whether, you know, basic word processing, you know, Word, Excel, this, that, and the other. We've provided skills classes. We've had, for many years, therapy sessions, not formal therapy sessions, but support sessions where women can come in and do arts and crafts that help
Right.
help in the healing process as
Art
they've
therapy is real.
survived. Yes, as
Art
they've
therapy is
gotten out
amazing.
and survived this, you know, ordeal experience that they have been through. Because you see, not every woman survives. And there are stories out there of like, I can't even believe you survived that.
Right. Right.
You know? So, but we also have a wonderful program. I'm not sure if it's still running now, but it's called I Am a Superhero. We've done anti-bullying presentations in schools and in colleges, safe dating presentations in schools,
Needed.
colleges, and churches.
Needed. So needed. Predators are everywhere.
And because you'd be surprised how many young people have no idea what safe dating is. They have no clue because they've never been taught and they've never seen it. What is safe dating? What is appropriate behavior and what is not? This is starting in, like, you know, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, you know, 10th, through high school, through college.
Yeah.
What is safe dating?
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of the programs that we've had in the community, some of the things that we've done. But again, supportsophia.org. You can go on, and we'd love for you to make a donation, because this COVID-19 has kicked the butts of a lot of
Yes.
nonprofits, and we are a small fledgling one. We're small, we're tiny. We don't have big bucks. We don't get, you know, because here's the thing. Nonprofit, you think, you know, fundraising nonprofits, you think, oh, good. You know what's sexy? And I'm not being flippant here. Cancer's sexy, kids are sexy, animals are sexy. Women getting their asses kicked is not sexy. People don't want to talk about it because it cuts close to home, because either it's happened, it's happening, or they've seen it.
Right. Right.
Experienced it, lived with it, grew up with it.
And it's
so
too close to home.
It's not a pleasant topic. It's not,
Right.
You know, it's very easy to write a check for breast cancer, for colon cancer, for this, that, or the other. It's really, really easy to go out and do a walk or a 5K or what have you for those types of organizations. But to come out and show your face and say, hey, I stand for women, children, and even men.
Men too, yeah.
Even men.
Anyone who is
not being
abused.
Violated by their,
yeah.
and we have actually stopped calling it quote unquote domestic violence, because it's intimate partner violence.
Right.
You don't have to be married. You don't have
right.
to be. It's intimate partner violence.
Right.
So it's not
an
easy topic for people to talk about, to want to look at, deal with, what have
mm-hmm.
you. And then we have people who've been there for us since, you know, day one, day two. You know, a few people that I can point to that I've told about my, you know, hey, I'm involved in this. There's a gentleman that when I was in between jobs and was like consulting and this, that, and the other, he always got me my consulting gigs, and he has been a consistent supporter, you know, of our organization in the form of a donation. And every penny counts. Every penny counts.
Say it again. Every single penny counts. So if someone says, I only have $5 to give, that's not only you have $5 to give. It is every single penny counts. I tell people that all the time. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It goes towards something. You have $1, send it. It helps.
Yeah.
Everything helps. Nothing is insignificant.
Absolutely not. No. Absolutely not.
I'm gonna do a crazy shift, but I'm gonna shift off your word sexy. Let's talk about being 50 and 50 plus. Since you used the word sexy, I'm going to throw it in there because I want to talk about 50 and then kind of slide into your podcast, which is a different 50.
Yeah.
You're a co-host,
Yeah.
but let's talk about, I don't even know how to go where, but we'll start with 50 because I love your podcast. I mean, I listen to it. The one that really made me chuckle a lot. And here's the problem. I listen to podcasts when I walk.
Me too. Yeah.
So I'm walking down the street and I'm cracking up. It was the episode you all had when you did your unscientific study on dating. I was cracking up. Oh my gosh. Okay, but wait, let me back up a little bit. So dating apps, going to a bar when we could go to a bar and meet people. But yeah, so we'll get into that in a second. So first, let's just talk about 50 and how fabulous and it's fucking fabulous. So let's just talk about that. So how does it feel to be 50 plus 3? Because you just celebrated 53, and of course you look amazing. Because you know my saying, black don't crack, brown don't frown, beige don't age. So, so how does it feel, honey? Talk about that. Talk about something with 50. Go.
There's days it feels amazing. There's days it sucks.
Oh, so you
I
mean like
mean,
when you were 32 or 50 or
yeah,
17 or yeah.
yeah. There's days. For the most part, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I've tried my best to keep myself healthy, which is huge,
Gigantic.
and
Yep.
it really is. Because especially when you see some of your contemporaries suffering
Yeah.
from health issues and whatnot. I'm going to just leave that there. But overall, it's cool because, and the thing about being 50 is you get to a point where there's just things are not in your control.
Yeah.
And it's easier to just be like, I can't control that. I can't put energy on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be what it's going to be, and just let it go.
Yep. Dust your shoulders off. Come on. Yep.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of, you don't paid your dues. You've paid your dues, whether it's in your career or what have you. You done paid your dues and stuff. And I'm not saying it's a time to like sit back and chill. I mean, to be clear, this is probably your 50s is probably your last chance, your last opportunity, especially like me, if you're in corporate, to make that money and get that money, get that shmoney, if you will.
Yep.
Because it's the gateway to the next thing.
Right.
It really is. Like 40 was cool. I mean, man, 40, you couldn't tell me anything. But even looking back at like my 40s, there was still a lot of lessons and still a lot of things
truly
that I still had to go through. And that's not to say that once you hit 50, you're no longer going through things or anything, but you kind of handle them a bit differently.
You damn sure do.
You handle them a bit differently. You look at things a little bit differently. And then there's things that you just no longer have any time or space for, and you're good to let it go. And if you're someone that's not kind of on your, I'm not saying wavelength, or just not kind of aligned with where you are.
It's not vibe. Y'all not in the same vibe. It's not the same vibe.
It's like, okay, you're over there, and you can see each other once a year or what have you, or what, and it's fine. It's fine. Your friendships, you find out who your real friends are, and, the ones that have been around forever, those deepen and get better and all of that stuff. It's also the time, just to talk about the podcast. The reason I started my podcast is because I spent, I spent 47, 48, and 49 dealing and taking care of, along with my sister, our mom, who had become very ill and had a lot of health challenges and this, that, and the other. And I was like, am I the only one going through this? And it's like, no, you're not the only one going through it. There's so many people going through now in their late 40s, early 50s, the issues and whatnot with aging parents.
Right.
Some of us have kids and the parents that we're taking care of still. And just all the stress and strain and whatnot that comes along with that. And that's when it becomes very clear on what's important and what's not important, is when you have to start taking care of your parents and stuff like that.
Truly.
It really is. Because it just comes in the face of everything. And it really, really, it just really takes on a whole life of its own. So that's part of why I started the podcast, because I was like, there's got to be other people who are, because when you're in it, when your parents are ill and you're
the only one going through it. Nobody else has your issue. You're the only one. Nobody understands. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is not true, but that's
but you're so it's your world. Like you're so stuck.
Yeah,
it's your world and it's so personal. It's so personal,
very personal
though.
and myopic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you come out on the other side, and you know, for me, it was hard. When I turned 50, it was actually kind of hard because my mother died 3 weeks before my 50th birthday. So since January of that year, I'm watching on Facebook and stuff, all my friends having these like fabulous 50 parties and stuff. And I'm just like,
no. Yeah.
I don't know what I did on my birthday. That I don't even know if I even said, I don't even know. I don't even remember. I have like no recollection of like months after like my mom passed and stuff. Just,
yeah.
I don't know what I was doing.
Because that time you do lose track of time. You lose track of everything actually at that point.
You really do.
Yeah.
You really do.
Back, snatches of memories come back. You'd be like, oh, it can be a while. It could be like 4, 5, 7 years later. And you'd be like, oh, was that what? Because.
Right.
But then that moved you into your podcast.
It did, yeah, because I was like, my first in my mind was like to talk about to people, other women, especially women, you know, Black women 50 over. I was like, you know, kind of want to talk about that. And then as I reached out to a classmate of mine and asked her if she was willing to be a co-host. And we started talking about like our 50 is so different than like my mother's 50, her mother's, our aunts and all of that.
Yeah.
Our 50 is so completely different.
Mm-hmm.
We like live different lives. Just in the way we look, move, travel, that, you know, all of that. It's really different. Like 50 when we were younger was like old.
It was death
sentence.
Some
people are not old.
No. Not old. It was a death sentence when we were younger. 50.
Yeah, like 50. Like so so that's why we came up with and my co-host Donna just kept saying, yeah, it's different. And that's how we came up with the podcast name, A Different 50, simply because our 50, it's not your mama's 50. It's not your auntie's 50. It's not your grandmother's 50. It's a different 50 because we're just living in a different day and age.
And y'all are funny because you're bouncing off of each other because it's a friendship and it's the conversation. It just flows. It's fun. Y'all are funny and poignant and deep and all that. It's a lot. And it's good.
Well,
we
try to touch on a lot of things. I mean, and we're trying to touch on topics that are relevant to us, to us. We're Gen Xers, like point blank.
Yeah.
We're Gen Xers.
Yeah.
We're the original latchkey kids. We're the kid. I mean, like we came up through the 80s, we were born in the end of the 60s. We came up
Yeah.
to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. We saw the beginning of MTV. I remember life before MTV.
I know. Remember
Like
Video Music Box?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Video Music Box?
Oh yeah, Video Music Box and
Free MTV, yo.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I remember the first day of MTV, August 1st, 1981. Video killed the radio star. That was the first
We
video.
all rushed home from school. Everybody came to my house because I had cable.
Mm-hmm.
We all rushed and were like, oh, and then we rushed to see Thriller. That was
when
like
that came out, yeah, because it was huge because he was black and MTV was not playing anybody black before Michael Jackson.
And we ran home to ran after school to go see Michael Jackson. Go see Thriller.
So like these Zoom calls, the only Zoom I knew was Zoom on channel 13.
Zoom.
All right, that's Zoom to me.
That is Zoom, and now here we are.
Yeah, this other shit, I don't know what that is, but that's Zoom to me. But I just say we come out of a specific experience.
Yeah, truly.
And, I mean, every generation is different, but we really come out of a very unique experience of like life in the world as we knew it when we arrived here, if you will, and grew up through and whatnot. So that's why I call it a different 50. I think my generation, I think we're the largest generation of Black women that did not get married. We're also, we're the ones who, got into these corporate jobs and we're the smallest. They call us the most ignored generation. Gen X, they call us the most ignored. We're the smallest. Because we're after the baby boom, but we're before the millennials. Yeah. So we're much smaller, and we just had so much shit thrown at us that there's a lot of stuff we just take in stride.
We do. We were also we were still part of the children are to be seen, not heard space too.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny because my siblings are so much younger that my younger siblings are 8 years and 15 years younger than me. So you've got me and my older sister seen, not heard. Then you got my brother where it's like, okay, we should listen to them. And then my sister, we should listen to them. We should let them speak. And it's like, what's happening here? But
nobody trying to listen to us.
No, listen, please. That's why we got so loud after a while. That's why we became a little extra self-sufficient, I think.
A little extra. And that was a lot of, because we had to take care of ourselves.
Latchkey, yes.
We had to take care of ourselves, and I mean, it's just, it just was what it was. Yep,
it wasn't good, it wasn't bad. That was life.
It's like my mother said. She stayed home for 18 months with me and 1 year with my sister. I have no recollection of that. Only thing I know is my mother was a teacher, went to school, and because she was a teacher, she was home when I got home from school.
Right. You're like, I don't know.
But
yeah. So Leslie, we got like 2 minutes left because I get cut off a lot on these, so I'm trying not to get cut off. We'll be like, okay. So we got like 2 minutes left.
Okay.
What would you like to leave everyone with?
What would I like to leave everybody with?
So actually 1 minute, because then I'm going to ask you something really quick after that. So 1 minute. What would you like to leave everyone with?
We're living in really crazy times right now. If you need help, reach out and get it. We're going to be all right. But stay away from people who really ain't doing the right thing when it comes to this pandemic and stuff. Everybody stay healthy. That's all I really got to say as far as that.
Yes.
And that's what's on my heart in this moment. Seriously.
Wonderful. Now, really quick. So I'm starting something brand new. You don't know about this because I didn't say it, but I'm starting something brand new with everybody. Give me a number between 1 and 8.
1 and 8. 2.
1 and 8. 2.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2. So I want everyone and for you to walk with this today. Can everyone see this?
It's backwards for me.
Oh, damn it.
What is it? You're just going to have to...
I am loved. So I want everyone's affirmation to be what Leslie picked. I am loved.
I am loved.
I am loved. Yeah. So I'm saying that you are the one that helped us to understand that, to recognize that. Today, that is the affirmation.
Yes, I love it. I am loved. Everybody, you are loved.
Yes. So my love, I love you.
Love you too.
Thank you.
Thank
my
you.
wine sister.
Yes.
Wow, I got my blue wine today.
I have to order some. So Latifah was so lovely and brought me a bottle of blue wine for my birthday last week.
So I got my new wine today. So I love you, boo. My countdown is on and we're going to get cut off.
All right. Love you.
All right, man. Talk to you later. Everybody have a great Sunday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.